Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Humza Yousaf will be crying into his porridge this morning. He'll have read the new poll from Survation, which shows that the people of Scotland are moving away from the SNP and toward Labour. This, of course, is something that we've been suggesting for quite some time, but this latest poll confirms it, and confirms that in fact it would be neck and neck for the Scottish seats at the next general election. Some of the people who've resigned would have lost their seats, so it's no surprise that they've gone. What is perhaps surprising is that Mary Black, who announced her resignation yesterday, would have most likely kept her seat. But we will take a look at this poll, see what's going on, and see how bad it is for the SNP, and how personally bad for Humza Yousaf. Here goes. So, in what they're calling a devastating blow for Humza Yousaf, as the survey shows SNP voters turning to Labour, which, as I say, we've been seeing it for quite some time. The SNP have slowly been, evaporating support. It's not been any sort of big madcap rush out the door, but it has been a constant trickle of people away from the SNP to Labour. And it's now to the point where they're going to lose at least half their seats. Anyway, a new opinion poll for Survation suggests it will almost be neck and neck between the SNP and Scottish Labour at the general election, while support for Skexit has fallen in the wake of the party's recent scandals. So, in fact, it's not just that the SNP are losing support to Labour on a political matter. It's that, in actual fact, the support for breaking up the union is also falling. Not by much, but it is another significant fall. And it means that independence is increasingly distant. And as this support fades and falls away, it'll cease to be an issue. And, of course, as it ceases to be an issue, then the very reason that the SNP even exists also evaporates, as does its support. You're still always going to have, the foaming at the mouth, wild-eyed loons, but they are quite easy to spot and can be quite easily disregarded because they will not represent a genuine political force. Anyway, a new opinion poll has found that support for the SNP has fallen to its lowest level in 3 years, with the party set to lose more than 20 seats at the general election. Now, it's the lowest for 3 years, but it can only go lower, because as people look around and they see the damage caused by 16 and soon 17 years of SNP rule, they'll realise how damaging the SNP are, how inefficient, how ineffective. They'll call for change. They will see it's time for change. The trouble is, the SNP know they're probably going to lose. They know that they're in deep trouble, and they may well just have a scorched earth policy, meaning destroy everything before they go, so that whoever comes in afterwards has no hope of improving the situation. And then they rely on people's short memories and say, well, this is the state of the country now after, say, 5 years of Labour rule or whatever. You need to vote the SNP back in to save you. And people will have forgotten it was the SNP who destroyed it. Because generally, people do forget. And that's why they constantly need reminding. Which is why I ask, good viewer, if you're one of my regular viewers and have not yet subscribed, please do. Please hit that subscribe button right now. We need to keep the pressure on. We need to keep the truth out. And we must never let things that are happening now be forgotten. Anyway, the poll from Survation suggested that the Nats were just ahead of Labour in Westminster voting on 37% to 34% respectively. It is honestly, it's a Nats wing, with the Conservatives on 17% and Lib Dems on 9%. And the electoral calculus seat predictor suggests this would leave the SNP with 25 MPs and Labour with 23 MPs. The Tories unchanged on 6 and the Lib Dems up 1 on 5. But that's right now. That's the poll as it is now. 25 MPs to 23 MPs. It takes the tiniest of change. I mean, literally, in one case it could be as little as a few hundred voters in one seat. And it'll be 24-24. And at that point, the SNP don't have any legitimate mandate or claim to be the party of Scotland, because at that point, not only are they not the biggest party any longer, they may be the joint biggest, but they're not the biggest, but also the people who voted against them are way over 2/3 of the electorate. So, there's no claim against them. Anyway, among those who would lose their seats under this scenario are Douglas Chaplin and Angela Crawley. Of course, they are two of the 6 that have already announced they are standing down. However, the polling suggests that Mary Black would retain her seat if she decided to fight on at toxic Westminster, which kind of makes you wonder why she is resigning. Presumably, the work is possibly a bit too hard for her. Or that she has other plans involving moving back up to Scotland and going into as an MSP, other plans. I don't think she'll leave politics particularly, permanently, simply because she's got nothing else that she can do. Yes, I know she got a law degree, but she's never practiced. She's never been in chambers, anything like that. And her experience as a politician doesn't really give her life skills at anything else, especially as people will see her as a Marxist. I mean, who is going to employ her? She's virtually unemployable. Anyway, the poll also found, and this is the interesting one, the poll also found that support for Scotland remaining part of the UK is at 53%, which is up 1% since the last Survation poll. So the gap has grown. And that is, I think that's going to be the direction of travel as time goes on, as time are hard, and they see what's happening. Especially now, I've had a conversation in the comments yesterday with someone where I suggested perhaps that the NHS need to be an undevolved power, if you know what I mean. Actually getting it back into the UK. And he said, well, no, is there? Otherwise, what's the point? And I agree. I mean, I wasn't saying it was serious. I'm just throwing it out as a suggestion. But something needs to be done, for example, with the NHS. There is the option of actually just closing down the devolved government because of so much damage done by the SNP. But again, that's up to the people of Scotland. I'm just throwing out an idea. Ultimately, it's the people directly concerned that need to make that decision. But I think something absolutely needs to be done. There was a poll, of course, it was a biased poll, let's put it that way, that came from one of the papers, I think it was a couple of days ago, that said something like 57%, I think it was, of Scots wanted the devolved government closed down, which is in itself very, very telling. But I don't think that would be enough for it to go. But it's all pipe dream. It is all pipe dream. The fact is, it's there. They've got it. But someone needs to take control and actually fix all the things that the SNP have destroyed over the years. And people are seeing it, which is why these polls are showing a massive sort of turning away from the SNP to Labour, to the point that the SNP are going to lose about half their seats, or possibly more. Just round this bit off here, Pamela Nash, Chief Executive of the campaign group Scotland in Union, said, this poll shows that the majority of people in Scotland want to remain part of the UK, are increasingly rejecting the SNP's negative vision for the country. And as part of the UK, our economy is stronger, pooling and sharing resources to invest more in public services and supporting businesses. And this is just going on about how great it is to be in the Union, which is fine. But Humza Yousaf, will now be seeing that since he has taken over, support for the SNP is in a tailspin. It is falling all the time. He will be the First Minister and leader of the SNP who will be in charge as the SNP has its biggest crash in support in a generation. It's wonderful to behold, isn't it? I mean, the ultimate loser. He fails in every job. He becomes FM. He fails as FM. He becomes leader of the party. And boy, has he failed at being a leader of the party. And I shall round off and come up. So, of course, polls are one thing, but there is only ultimately one poll that matters. In about a year or so, we'll be in the run-up to the general election, because it looks like it's going to be sort of towards the autumn time of next year. So that is the only one that will be telling. Now, I think in England it will be predominantly voting Labour. They're obviously going to have your strong Tory heartlands, but I think it'll be a strong showing for Labour. I think, given that and the fact that if maybe still the SNP have the stronger or the most number of seats in Scotland, but certainly there'll be a very strong Labour showing and presence. So I think that means that Westminster will undoubtedly have a large majority Labour government, which will basically shove it up the arse of the Tories, who are doing anything they can to destroy the working class and the working people of this country. With high interest rates, that means there's no money going into the economy. It's taking out local businesses and things like that. And also the fact that they changed the law to allow banks to own and then rent out the repossessed properties when they bounce the mortgages. And I had a rant about that in a video yesterday, but I'm not going to go on about that here now. But the showing in Scotland will definitely be very strong for Labour. It will send a message to Humza Yousaf that he is again losing, but he should be used to that, and that the world is changing somewhat. The attitudes are shifting, and so the people don't want the sort of the Marxism of the SNP anymore. Not saying that Labour are going to be better, but it will be a whole different circus. I'm not a Labour supporter. I'm not a Tory supporter. I loathe all politicians and parties. And whoever is in charge, I will always hold them to account and laugh at them and, ridicule them. Because the one thing politicians cannot abide is to be ridiculed, which is why it's so much fun to do it. So anyway, I shall end there. Thank you very much for watching. If you do like what you see and hear on the channel, do please hit the subscribe button. It is very important, because not so much this subject, but some subjects the algorithm hides them, and sometimes the only way you ever know what's happening is if you do get the notification. So I would ask if you do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and leave a like on the video. That also very much helps. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, we've got to keep pushing out the truth. So join me, and goodbye.